want to get started and do a quick roundtable on positive things that have been
Sure.
happening. Anyone have something they want to share? I can share if nothing else.
I can tell you that so I'm in Springfield, Illinois, and we have started, as of this Monday, we had ask all our staff to show up essentially full time. We have been having them work essentially because de facto split shifts. They chose to do that. We were pretty much shut down for a while. So they all started showing up on Monday.
Okay.
And then they started getting concerned about rioting because there was a big demonstration at 3:00 and we're right south of downtown. At least in Springfield, nothing has really happened here. There have been a number of marches and protests, but we've not had a lot of Champaign-Urbana, Bloomington Normal, Chicago area, St. Louis, a number of other places. So I think that's a positive thing that people are starting to come back. We, of course, had to implement a policy as to how we were going to deal with that. We're still encouraging remote contact as much as possible. But we're fortunate. We have basically 17 total people in the building, and it's a long building parallel to the street. So I'm fortunate. I'm in a far end that's pretty quiet most of the time. So
yeah,
not sure
has it been awkward not going up, like after you've seen coworkers for a long time, like not shaking hands? Have you guys been like bumping elbows or just kind of?
It's real for us. It's been really pretty quiet. There've been a core group of the partners in the office. Not all of them have been. There's been a group that really has pretty much come in. I sort of took the, position, that having a schedule is good. And, even though personally, my work has fallen off quite a bit, but I found there was much more administrative work to do. I do a lot of the administrative work. Had a lot more of that, a lot more actually personnel and HR type stuff come up literally every day. There were some issues with that, and things were more difficult, like dealing with our CPAs and things like that. So we were pretty much keeping to ourselves, and I'm on a quiet side of the building, and have not really. I am intentionally not really interacting very much with with the rest of them. Just in terms of because we're still kind of iffy. There are a number of us in our office that are high risk, and honestly, everybody is dealing with this differently. And we don't know the science on it yet, and some of us need to be particularly careful. And I am mindful. I guess a positive thing is due to social media, which I'm not really on, but several friends and staff that I know well are on, and I know that there are people in our building that have been out quite a bit and out running around, and some of them traveling out of state and things like that. So,
yeah.
In any event, that's a long answer to your question. Mike, what's your situation?
Yeah, I picked up a couple of clients this week. I think, as you kind of alluded to, the type of work is starting to shift a little bit. It's for me, it's shifting from initially it was sort of do all the things that we wanted to do as business owners, and now we have time to do it. So reviewing contracts, that kind of thing. And now this week I've picked up a couple of clients who are starting businesses and going forward, looking to get into business. So that type of work is starting to pick up again. For me, as operationally, it's just me. I'm a solo, and I can go into the office if I want or not. And so for me, in that sense, nothing's really changed. I'm probably going to continue to self-isolate as people come back from the lake, as people come back from protests, just to make sure, because I have a few people in my family who are immunocompromised, and I don't want to put them at risk. So I have the ability to do that, and we're probably going to keep doing that for at least a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I was telling, I think before you were on the call, I'm actually not at the office now, and I left because part of our policy that was instituted was that they wanted to use, there's a primary conference room, the one that's on my end of the building that I have to walk by. And there was depositions that need to happen in there today. So there's a whole lot of people in the building. And, yesterday, the same thing happened. I walked by there. There was somebody supposed to have a mask on. They didn't have a mask on in there. And out of an abundance of caution, I decided that, okay, I'm going to go work someplace else. So I'm working someplace else. So that's good. Sarah, what's going on? You look like you're in the office.
Yeah, so I'm at legal back office. This is actually, so Jamie would usually be sitting right over there. She and I have pretty much, we've been around each other. I live alone, so I'm only around my cat. She's around her 4 kids and family, but I feel pretty safe and secure after a couple months of us doing this. And Jamie and I had some socially distanced walks. We're pretty good in here. If she and I both have a lot of calls, I usually go into another office, but we kind of alternate. If it's a busy day in the office, just Jamie will be in here. If I have a lot of calls, I'll come in and she'll work from home. So it's been nice for me, especially since I live alone, to be getting out. I feel like it's been helping my productivity a bit. Oh, there's someone coming in. Oh, we got some mail. Awesome. Oh, we got paid, Matt. Always a good thing. Getting checks in the mail and not getting bills. But I think one thing, with the new norm, Matt and I have always worked remotely. He lives in St. Peter's. Legal back office was just getting to the place when this all started where we were actually getting a physical office. Obviously, that's been put on hold. I mean, we have this space at Stock Legal, but obviously we wouldn't want 3 of us in this one room. So it's been really interesting. Matt and I have been working well using Teams, and I think that's definitely going to stick around even if eventually we do get a physical office. I think it's likely that maybe 2 days a week Matt will be in the office where we're kind of maybe meeting heavy and collaborating on stuff. But he and I have been working really well, doing maybe once a day, have a quick little screen share, pull up a document, talk through some things. So I definitely think that's around to stay. We've had a pretty virtual model, but I think something that Jamie has harped on from the beginning. We are, and I'm just like Jamie in this way, very social butterfly. I live for the Bamsel happy hours. I love going to those networking events. And, there's something to say for, I'm at the point where, I'm sick of all these Zoom meetings and the Zoom happy hours. Like as soon as it hits 5 o'clock, unless it's a Zoom call that's with my family and involves a strong whiskey and some games, I'm not going to be on it. I think, Jamie and I have been talking about, okay, well, now that it's summer, what does that look like? Can we have a socially distanced happy hour out at a park where people are sitting, everyone has picnic blankets 6 feet apart? Is that something that we can start looking into? Or I think what it's really turned into is it's harder to do groups, but it's better individualized networking. And so that's what I've been trying to focus on is, if we have a new member come into this group, like, there's a woman on here last week that I remember from ABA Tech Show, or if we happen to see a friend, a former client of ours that we haven't talked to in a while, always, making the personal outreach instead of just waiting for the next group meetup that might happen. So I think that's one thing that'll stick around, having more individualized kind of outreach. But I agree with what Randy said. It's nice having a schedule and a routine, a place to come into. So I'm hopeful that with everyone respecting the we have masks downstairs and Purell in every room. I'm hoping, knock on wood, that in the next coming weeks, we're not going to see any spikes in cases in this particular office area and within our circle, and that maybe we can kind of proceed forward a little more normally.
Good. Well, welcome, Chris.
Sorry, I'm joining a little late. We actually had a a fire drill. I'm on the 18th floor. So
no.
They had a fire truck. We're in Clayton, right across from the courthouse. So I had to get out. We all had to leave and we're back in. Everybody's safe. But that kind of threw me off a little. Sorry about that.
Actually, we got started late. Jamie's not on because she didn't feel well, and Matt and Sarah and I were trying to get things started. So we probably only got started 10 minutes ago, maybe.
Yeah, you're just in time.
So something like that. So yeah, you're just fine. It's interesting you said the fire drill, because we were just talking a little bit about what we're seeing as, offices are reopening, one way or another, and how we're handling it and what we're going to do. And what we may stick with and what we may not, what we like about it, and what we don't.
So as I'm walking down the 18 flights, I forget, and I'm holding onto the rails. I'm like, I guess I shouldn't be doing that, but it was pretty orderly getting back on the elevator because they have stickers outside in our lobby.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so people just got in line and then 2 at a time on the elevator, and it really wasn't an issue.
Good. And I think you mentioned maybe last week you guys were thinking about maybe doing like an A/B shift or something like that. Is that what you've adopted?
Yeah, and I'm in the A group, so this is our first week back, and so half of our firm is in this week, and then the next week I'll be working from home, and a new group will come in, and they kind of spaced it out so the people the offices next to you are pretty open. So I'm on our litigation floors, so because of the court system, there's not a lot of people on my floor anyway. So I feel pretty. I've been one of those people that really been kind of quarantined. Really, I haven't even gone to many stores, and I feel pretty. I mean, again, what they emphasize is if anybody who doesn't feel comfortable in coming in or doesn't have childcare set up or whatever, they don't have to. So, and we take a survey every day. We take our temperature either at home or here. I think they have it going here.
Interesting. And that's kind of consistent with what all of us were talking about, because Mike and I have both been doing some really self-quarantining and trying to be careful as well. And interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
So I think that the main topic that Jamie had suggested we talk about today are, culture, and both culture in terms of client culture and internal firm culture, how we're fostering those relationships as we're getting through this and adopting what's working for people, maybe what's not working for people. We've of course already heard Sarah mention what all of us I'm sure are experiencing, which is, we have Zoom fatigue, and that I will start the conversation. That says to me, I of course noticed it too, and that we're going to have to figure out, we at our office are still encouraging people to do remote work, whether it's, they were talking about using Teams, which we have at work. We've used it just a little bit, but whether it's Teams or Zoom or something else, because we know about this fatigue, this isn't going to get us through. We're going to need to figure something else out. And I don't know what that is. Obviously, we're going to have to pay attention to, to fostering those contacts and the relationships somehow. Whether it's through some of the, even the online social events or not, leave a bit to be desired.
Yeah. What are some of the best, I guess, online social events, whether it has been for professional network or for yourself personally? Like I've been to a virtual bachelorette party now, a virtual birthday party, a virtual game night, and then, I've been to a number of networking events where they try to make it into a game thing. But what are some of the best ones that you've been to, and what have you noticed about those things that make, kind of make it seem more real, or like you're actually getting a social interaction out of it?
I will say, I mentioned on the last call, and we're going to be doing it again with a bank, and we're having another mixer. And
Okay.
I'm doing what I did last time because it seemed to work, which was they're facilitating, I'm facilitating. We have a list of who's attending from their bank and from our firm, and we're going to go through a list. We're not going to look on the side when Zoom or GoToMeeting and you're next. We're going to call out their name, and we're going to make sure everybody has an opportunity to address questions. So we're going to go in order, make sure everybody has an opportunity to talk. We're going to send them the questions prior to the actual mixers, so there's no surprises. And like I said, I'm not only going to facilitate it, the representative from the bank is going to facilitate it. So it truly is a joint effort. We did this once before. We're going to now we have 2 more planned. And I think that, I think that worked for us. because everybody had a chance to talk. I will tell you, just before I got on with this call, somebody I was not stuck on a call with, but asked to do a joint type of a mixer, and they wanted to do a webinar. And I said, I'm all for doing a webinar, but it's really got to be interactive more than just polling, because I think, I don't know about you all, but a lot of people have that webinar fatigue too, that you're sitting on a webinar and then you're probably multitasking. And so at least maybe most of us on the call, I want to be able to, maybe because I'm in a business development role, I want to be networking too. I don't want to just be,
Right.
just another webinar.
Yeah. I know one thing that I've noticed that makes it a bit better is sometimes if there's something not related to the professional network or the topic, like, we've had a couple of informal LBO happy hours, but if there's like a game, if there's an agenda involved and there's like a game, like, hey, we're going to play this game, instead of just having kind of the general, big heads talking at the same business leaders talking at the meeting that generally do. And sometimes you'll be surprised who are the people that come out and have the funniest answers or end up being a little bit more social. So I've enjoyed where there's those other kind of outside social aspects that you might have at an in-person event. But I do like the idea of making sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak and ask questions, because I think a lot of time on this call, we'll try to call out the quieter members that aren't here, but I think a lot of times we do get the same players contributing and giving answers. I think because they have a wealth of good answers. But
Mike, you have any thoughts?
I'll be honest, this is pretty much the extent of networking that I've done during quarantine, this group. I'm not a great networker, which is terrible. But this is it. And as you guys have kind of alluded to, having that balance. I mostly, honestly, use Zoom for family and friend get-togethers. So right. When I get to use it for professional reasons, I'm not burned out on it or anything. I'm just log on and it's just another Zoom. So I think having that balance has been really helpful.
I have to interject. Mike's better half is very good at networking.
Usually that's my networking. I'll just go to whatever she's going to and kind of latch onto her and meet people that way.
He's never met a stranger.
So what types of things, though, like with the family Zooms that you have been doing, what has made it seem kind of a little bit more personal than just like a virtual, like a FaceTime or a Zoom call?
We've done some of the online games, some of the Jackbox and the trivia and that sort of thing. But there are 4 couples, we're all friends from college, and 3 of them have kids. So the kids are running around in the background and doing all kinds of stuff. So that makes it funny.
Yeah.
I will tell you, the night before last, we had a young professional event. I sent the invite to Jamie, and we had probably about 25 people on the call, including our attorneys. And I might have mentioned I had Mike Ward on wines. He's a wine connoisseur, sommelier, and he did a presentation on wine and whiskey. He was excellent. I will tell you, he's used to using Zoom, and I don't know what happened, but his Wi-Fi connection was poor, and it started dragging. And finally, somebody was smart and said, "Oh, Mike, just get on a call." So we had some technical issues. People were very patient, but Mike, in general, people were asking questions all the way up to the end of the hour. People, we all know it. People are interested in wine, whiskey, anything related to alcohol. And so I thought he did a very good job, but his name is Mike Ward on wines. I highly would recommend him if anybody, and he was very, very inexpensive.
Oh, that's awesome. I know I keep encouraging Jamie to do something similar for our clients. So we'll see if that happens soon. Our 3-year or 2-year anniversary is coming up. So be on the lookout for a possible invitation. It'll be later in the summer though.
Sounds good. Personally, we do a little bit with the family, and it's just because my brother and his family are down in Austin, Texas. It's just we haven't been able to get together. But most of the Zoom that I do is either related directly to work or some of the volunteer work I do. There's a foundation I sit on, and I do some graduate advising at the college I went to for a group, for a fraternity group up there. It's a club here that I'm involved in, not in the leadership, but I have noticed that people are more willing to join those. A lot of times it's easier to get them to commit. Sure, people fall off, but because of where I am in Springfield and I'm a little further away, I kind of think of all of those honestly as networking. It's a number of different groups, and that's to the extent that I can, whether it's contributing or hopefully something valuable or listening or asking questions. I try to do that, but I've not, other than family, I haven't done any of the social ones, because it's, today let's see, I've got 4 different ones today. I had one earlier at 9. I have this one. I have one at 12:15 for a foundation. And I have actually a co-op, an electric co-op one tonight. And I may, it's their shareholder meeting, and they're actually offering some bill credits for people that join. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I did
That's
one.
Awesome.
Yeah. I was, and it's something normally I can't go to because it's up in Minnesota. So, and
is that something new that they previously weren't allowing shareholders to do virtual meetings, and now they've instituted that?
I don't know if it was a new policy or not. They always did them, because it's a co-op. So many of the people are local to where the co-op operates. And, so they do, an in-person shareholder meeting and do dinner and there's a social aspect to it. And this year they announced early on, look, we're not going to be able to do that this year. We're going to do a Zoom meeting, and, we encourage you to join, and here's how you do it. And so if I get a chance, I will join that tonight. I did have another one that started at 8:30 at night, and that was a killer. That was for one of the volunteer things I do.
Oh, wow.
Zooming after a day, and then at 8:30 is, fortunately I didn't have to run that meeting. But it was a very small group, and I was dying by 9:30. Anyway, I got way off subject anyway.
So I know we've talked a lot about, just kind of what has changed culturally with, at least with clients. But I know a big part of company culture is just kind of interacting with each other. And obviously, as we're all distanced, that's kind of a phase in that. But how is your work kind of looking to do some of those, like if you had birthday lunches before, if you had, like those little activities where the work tries to get you together, has there been any kind of establishment of a new normal outside of staggering schedules and that type of stuff, for what the work plans to do to kind of keep that inner workplace camaraderie?
Sarah, my birthday's next week, so I'm going to see if you're going to throw me a party or not, and then I'll tell you.
Mine's in 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, like one thing that I've seen people saying, there's a lot, instead of having a big cake for everyone's like, okay, individually wrapped cupcakes, and everyone, celebrate at your desk, or we can all stand outside 6 feet apart, or, I can imagine if only The Office were filmed in times of coronavirus, how Michael Scott would deal with it. But that is a big part of company culture, and a lot of the benefits, not just attorneys, you may think of a lot of other things, but with your staff and them coming back into the office, have there been, we've been having virtual happy hours. We're hoping to have maybe a socially distanced happy hour soon, but people are still getting married and having kids and having birthdays, and those are kind of part of the workplace culture, how you decide to celebrate people. So just interested to hear if anyone's come up with policies. It sounds like I should maybe email some office admins and give them some ideas, Chris and Randy.
Yeah, but Sarah, that's a great question. I can only speak here. There's still, this is only my first weekend, but there seems to be still so much caution. I mean, I overheard one of our attorneys say, I'm going to a meeting into a meeting, and I'm a little concerned because this person is, I think, one of the kind of guys that thinks that this is all a conspiracy theory. Mm-hmm. So, so I thought that was, I overheard that. And so there's, we all know there's people at different spectrums of this whole virus, some that think it is a conspiracy theory, some that will not leave the house, and some in between. And so, your question's a great one. And I think people are still just kind of taking a wait and see and don't know what to think about this whole thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. There's a very broad spectrum, and we have both of those types of people in our office. And, in our office particularly, so we're 10 attorneys and basically have 17 people in the office. It was a lot different, when there were just 5 of us. I was their very, very first associate years and years ago. And, our culture was a whole lot different then. Certainly, now with some of the younger, people at the office, it's not, we've moved away. We used to regularly, we would do birthdays, and we would do, if somebody had a big event, there would be a celebration and everybody would be there. And that's really declined over the years as the rest of us have gotten older, and as some younger people have joined. And so, and it's our first week back too. Well, first week for the staff to be back, and some of the people who weren't in before.
Yeah. And obviously a lot of these things don't take, precedent. Outside of the pandemic, there's a lot of stressful stuff going on in the world. We're in a presidential election year. I'm sure we're all aware of kind of, the political climate happening right now with race relations in America. So, and depending on the makeup of your staff, that may be impacting them differently. But I do think that is something, we keep saying this is the new normal, that is something to consider in the next coming weeks and months. Like, how can we normalize this more, like continue to celebrate, maybe the mundane, but that kind of brings a sense of like, oh, right, like the world does go on. We still do have birthdays. We still have these other things. At least that's how, one way that we've been trying to approach it. We've had birthday Zooms for people, and, Jamie tries to send little gifts when she can, if we can't virtually or we can't physically be together. But I think making sure to let your people know that, the world may be crazy and our minds are kind of everywhere and trying to stay normal, but sometimes focusing on the small and little celebrations that we can break up this weird time.
Sarah, I think you're right. I mean, we're so fixated. Like when they got on the loudspeaker here and said, there's a fire in the building, we need to evacuate. And, this was one, most people took it seriously, including me, because I'm like, okay, there's a wave that says this isn't just a siren. And then you cross from the courthouse, and there's riots, obviously, and protests going on. So first thing came to me is somebody threw something through the window or something. And that didn't happen, fortunately, but you see a fire truck. But I think you're so right that we have to we got to make sure we are cognizant of some of those other things that will alleviate some of that stress. Yeah. And I mean, this is the first, and I think, the office for a lot of people here. And then this happens. And I'm like, great,
Yeah. There's never going to be a perfect time for anything. We're trying to reopen, and now we finally have curfews here in St. Louis. And I'm like, this didn't happen during the pandemic, but it's happening as we're open, but, just trying to, not be ignorant of what's going on and ignore it, but also try to provide some relief for it when we can. So that's my 2 cents and advice. Is I've told Jamie my unofficial title at Legal Back Office is not only marketing manager, but chief social officer. Because I want to make sure that we like the people that we work with and that we're celebrating them as often as we can. So
Mary, you need to do a blog on that. That would be a perfect blog.
I'm working on it. Now that I've gotten through the backlog of a lot of work, the end of the month is always crazy, as I'm sure you guys are all aware. So now that I'm at the first week of the month, I've actually on my calendar here, I have a little social calendar for Legal Back Office, and I have a couple of blog ideas I've been writing down. So I'll write that. I actually will be leading next week's meeting. We'll be talking about marketing. Just in general, like any questions that people have, like as more people have been forced to move to a digital platform, if you weren't there already, we'll just have some general tips in there, kind of, when to use what are hashtags, when to use them, making sure that you're not doing the wrong thing on the wrong social media, what's the most effective way to get clients back to your website, or just any general questions anyone would have. And then we'll have kind of a mock template calendar, like what we use for our clients. And we'll show you an example of something that is a mixture of relevant content to your law firm plus relevant content to social media that makes you a little bit more personal. But we'll have, Matt Camp also on there. He's our digital advertising specialist and has been working wonders with a lot of the firms who need to reach a certain segment of clients, like consumer protection, personal injury, that type of stuff. So we'll be ready for a Q&A and have some resources for you all. But in the meantime, if you do have any specific questions that you'd like us to address, feel free to shoot us a message in the LinkedIn group or shoot Jamie an email, and we'll make sure to work it in. Is there anything that you guys can think of right now that you'd be interested in hearing about, just general? I mean, we do traditional marketing as well, so we can talk about radio, billboard, TV, but we mainly focus on the digital side.
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Only other thing I think on Jamie's. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, do we want to talk for a few minutes about fostering the client relationship in the new world?
Yeah.
Just touch on that for a few minutes. Which actually the answer may be somewhat similar, is that it's really kind of early. Some of it, at least the virtual stuff, we've already been doing. And we already, most of us have at least several weeks under our belt of, not meeting clients in the office, not meeting at their place of business, not meeting them for lunch, but we're doing it online or on the phone.
Do you think that will stay though for some of your clients? I don't know if, depending on where you are, for some clients that may be easier if they're more rural based or elsewhere. Do you think that's a practice that you'll continue to provide that option even as in-office becomes more of the norm?
I think there'll be some of it, at least not personally, but at least anecdotally. I know that a number of people have told me that, some of the people have been very receptive to, doing, some estate planning or transactional, on Zoom or on a call. It's not a big deal for them, even people who, we might stereotype as not being interested in that.
Yeah.
That's all I can really offer on it.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Anybody else have anything they want to?
Yeah.
Mike?
Again, all my work is transactional. And so my clients are, small business owners, and they run the business themselves. So they're used to interacting with service providers over the phone or not in an in-person meeting because they've got other things to do. So
yeah.
Again, for me, it's not really changed a whole lot. So if you guys, I guess, want some advice on that, it's just, instead of scheduling an in-person meeting on your calendar, it's a phone call, and making sure that the client has the proper information, just as they would with an address or parking instructions or anything like that. Just making sure you're keeping that relationship. It's just changing the mode of communication. So I think in that sense, it's no different than if clients came in and met you every week. It's just, you know, can you build that trust with your client, and whether you can do it over the phone or in person, it kind of doesn't matter as long as that trust is there.
I will say I agree with everything you guys are saying, because you all know better than me. You're attorneys, but for me, from my vantage point, from when I do prospecting, I'm not working with as much as the existing clients as you all are. I almost kind of push to make sure it's a Zoom or go-to meeting, because when I'm introducing somebody to one of our attorneys to a potential prospect or a referral source or partner, I think it's best to see what they look like, see their nonverbals. Even though you're going to follow up at some point and have a face-to-face, I kind of push for it if they feel comfortable. Not with a client I'm talking about, an existing client. I agree with you, Mike. A call is fine because you know the client. But when it's a potential client, a prospect, a referral source, or just somebody you want to network with, I kind of almost have to reinforce, oh, I look forward to seeing you on the call. And some, like one guy, he says, oh, I'm in my car, I'm taking my kids to school, and I was introduced him to an attorney. I totally got it. We were fine, but it would have been nicer if I could have seen what he looked like, and the attorney I was introducing to him, I could as well. They would have saw that they're both close in age, blah, blah, blah. And you don't get that when you have a call. But I agree with you on clients. But for me, for prospect, I try to get them physically to see them.
Yep. All right. So any meme? Sarah, you have any meme? Anything to share? Anything funny?
Oh, memes. Okay.
Yes, memes.
Well,
I'm
gonna have to send them to Matt because my screen share still unfortunately isn't working, but I do have a really good one. I need to see if I can find it.
It better not be a picture of Jamie not feeling good.
It's not. Okay, let me see how not to wear. That's New York Times. I don't want to use a New York Times article because I've already met my minimum this month, or my maximum. Let me see.
Did anybody watch the UT commencement that I mentioned that hadn't seen it?
I did. And I think I posted that in the LinkedIn group. Was that the correct one, Randy?
I'm sure it was. It's really the only one that comes up when you Google it.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to repost. I'll repost it to our social media probably later today. And then here, actually, you know what? I'll make sure to send out that Snoop Dogg link because Jamie didn't, because that was really good.
It was I think it's 2014. The main thing that guy, it's McRaven is the guy's name. Admiral McRaven, UT.
Check our LinkedIn group because I think I got it. It was the Make Your Bed.
Yes, make your bed.
Yes, yeah. I watched. I've seen that before, but I definitely rewatched it.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, you guys watched it or seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. It was great.
Yes, I love it. I always go back to that. I've gone back to that for years, and my brother and sister-in-law are both English professors at UT, so I have
let me see.
a little bit of affinity for it as well.
Okay, this is really dumb, but this was seen in public. I think, Matt, I'm going to share it with you, so if you can share your screen. So I have one funny meme, and then I do have a good quote that I think I wanted to share. Gotta scroll up a bit. So this was by far the funniest face mask attempt I had seen because it's just so impractical. And I don't know if I may have shared this previously. I'm not positive.
I think you did, but it's worth sharing.
This guy's wearing a shoe. You can't even see out the front. and it's dirty. I can't even imagine what that would smell like. But that one just gets me every time I see that and scroll past on social media. It just cracks me up.
Wow.
Um,
I had not seen that.
Pretty
That's
good.
funny. Let me find this quote. This was something that was shared to us by Marler Law Partners. As some of you probably know Sarah Marler, who's been on some of the calls.
Mhm.
But I think it really resonated with me this week with everything that's been going on. But just telling the people in your life, whether they are, professional acquaintances, coworkers, your family members, whoever, but just tell people in your life how important they are to you always. I think we've been in these, we've been in a lot of trying times, but I think one thing that I have learned, and I've learned this from Jamie, and you might have seen her many blogs, why I tell my clients I love them, why I tell lawyers I love them. But the more that you kind of put yourself out there and are vulnerable with people and let them know how you feel and let them know how important you are, you always kind of receive a little bit more honey than you do. I don't know, whatever the opposite of that, the phrase is. I'm forgetting the phrase. I've only had one cup of coffee.
Vinegar.
But yeah, you always get more honey than vinegar. So and that's something that I've learned, I've been vulnerable with my coworkers. Like, hey, I am mentally not there today. I am not going to be doing my top game work. I'm trying my best, but just being open and honest with the people around you and letting them know how you feel always helps.
Yes.
Any other memes or positive affirmations or limericks to leave us on?
Have you guys seen the visual effects artist who made his own mask?
No. Can you pass over this, or are you going to be able to share it on?
Yeah, let me see if I can find it real quick.
I've seen some really cool ones. I kind of want to start now buying them from a fashion sense, like to try to match my outfit, since this seems like the new norm.
It's sort of the opposite of fashion.
My current mask clashes with everything. I never wear this shade of blue. So I'm looking for a black and white one or a floral.
Let me see if I can share my screen real quick.
Oh,
Can you guys see it?
wow.
Yeah.
Wait,
That's a mask.
is that? Wait, but like, is it in his mouth? It's like it's actually a tied. Oh, I see. Like there's like a prosthetic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it covers his nose and everything.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'd be terrified if I walked past that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that almost looks unhealthy.
It's like kind of like an Iron Man, but not his heart, his mouth.
Yeah,
That's funny. I wonder what Banksy has done.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's a good one. Well, it was a good small group, but I feel like we had, maybe a more in-depth discussion because of it. So come ready with marketing questions. Feel free to invite others. And if there's someone else on your team, actually, like I know this is for law firm leaders, but if there's someone else on your team who maybe helps with your marketing efforts, whether it be an office admin or someone who wears a lot of different hats, because that's usually always the case with the marketing. It's kind of you're the Jack or Jill of all trades if you're doing that. Feel free to invite them on the call as well, or have them submit questions in advance, because we'd love to connect with them. So
Thanks, Randy and Sarah, for filling in for Jamie. I hope Jamie feels better, Matt.
yeah,
Well,
hey, this is the first time she's called uncle during the whole pandemic, and she's had 4 kids at home. So I'm hoping she's resting and maybe maybe gets a nice afternoon nap or something. So awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone. Have a good rest of your week.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
everyone.
And happy early birthday to you too.
Thanks.
See you guys.
Okay, bye.